Okay, so starting off this review, we're going to start with just evaluating some absolute values. For these, I'm going to try to keep my absolute value symbols super precise because we see we have a lot of them here. We have two absolute values inside of another. So we have this type of situation going on, and we're just going to deal with the numbers inside until we get a final answer. Let's see, -7 plus 2 is -5. 6 minus 14 would be -8. If we take the absolute value of -5, we get +5, plus the absolute value of -8, which is +8. Okay, and 5 plus 8 is just equal to 13. And the absolute value of 13 is just 13. Okay, now I do recommend you do number 2 on your own, so please do that one on your own. Just so you know, you also could have used Desmos to do this. I just typed it straight in and we get 13. Okay, moving on. Find and graph the solutions. So always with these equations, you have two scenarios. Either all the stuff inside equals whatever's on the outside, or all the stuff on the inside is equal to the negative version of whatever's on the outside. So that'd be -3. So we have to split it up into positives and negatives. So that's your first step for all these equations. Then you just solve it like an algebra problem. For both of these, we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. And so we get x is equal to -1 as one of my answers. And then we get x is equal to -7 as my other answer. So when you graph this is just going to look like 2 points. So we'll put -1 right here. That'd be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll put another point right here. Okay, so this is what your two solutions would look like on the graph. You can do number 4 on your own. Just please be aware that for number 3 and number 4, it is totally possible for you to just use Desmos. If you do y equals the left side and y equals the right side, you get the exact same answers that I just did, -7, -1. Okay, once again, number 4 on your own. Okay, number 5, I will simply give you the hint. You're gonna type in all 4 of these into Desmos and see which one crosses y equals 0, because the question is, which of the following expressions, so which answer choice, is equal to 0 for some value of x? So when you type all these in, and I won't spoil the answer, it's going to be one of these, okay? But when you type in all 4 answer choices and you start looking around and seeing which ones cross and which ones don't, you can pretty easily get the answer to this one. So once again, you're looking for which one crosses y equals 0. So that's multiple choice. I'll leave that one up to you. For number 6, it says if x is less than y, then the absolute value of x minus y is equivalent to which of the following? Okay, since we don't know what x and y are, all we know is that x is less than y. That's all we know. So let's just pick 2 numbers where that's true. Let's say x is 2, and let's say y has to be bigger, so let's say y is 3. Okay, so we have the absolute value of x minus y. The absolute value of 2 minus 3 would be the absolute value of -1, which is 1. Okay, so we're looking for which answer choice would be equal to 1. Okay, if we take 2 minus 3, well, that's -1, so it's not A. If we take 2 plus 3, it's 5, not 1, so it's not B. Okay, the other ones, if we take negative x minus y, so the negative version of A, so here's x minus y, so the negative version of A would just be +1. Okay, and the negative version of B, excuse the bell, the negative version of B, which would just be -5. So obviously here the correct answer is C, because that's the only one that equals 1. And if you type all this into Desmos, everything I just did, you'll notice that the correct answer choice C gives me 1, just like it should. Okay, so I typed in the original, we got 1. All of the answer choices do not make sense except for this one because it equals 1. Okay. All right, okay. It's time to stop. Are you even taking this seriously? I need you to try these problems before we talk about them. Come back to this video when you've tried this out. Okay, number 7, it says Chad has a job as a sales associate and he earns a commission on his sales in addition to his salary. Each salesperson has a goal to earn $175 in commission each week. Last month, he was within $50 of his goal. So we have 175 a week. So we're definitely going to have to take 175 times the number of weeks in a month, which would be 4. Okay, so we have 4 weeks here. Okay, we multiply that by 175 just so we know. Okay, we multiply this by 175 just because we know that there's 4 weeks in a month. Let's see. Each salesperson has a goal to earn $175. Yeah. Last month he was within $50 of his goal. So we need to put plus or minus $50. Okay, this is the general idea behind it. It's 175 times 4. That's for 4 weeks. And he's within $50 of that goal, so it could be 50 more or it could be 50 less. So plus or minus. Which equation can be used to find the maximum and minimum amounts that Chad could have made last month, given that there were 4 weeks? Okay, let's see. The maximum and minimums, well, we already know. It's either 175 times 4 plus 50. Let's see, 175 times 4. It's going to be $700 plus or minus 50, which leads us to 2 different outcomes. We either have 750 on the high end, or we have on the low end, we have 700 minus 50, which is 650. Okay, so we have these 2 scenarios. We could look at the graph to see how these line up, but since we know that we have to take 175 times 4, this answer choice already looks really good, since we know how this kind of works. Just from that alone, you could guess it correct. Okay, if you graph answer choice B, okay, if you graph y equals the left side and y equals the right side, so this is the first equation, and this is the second. You can find exactly those 2 values on the graph just by looking at where they cross. So we have 650 over here and 750 right here. Okay, and this is when graphing answer choice B. Okay, if you graph the other answer choices, you'll find different numbers than what we were expecting. So definitely use Desmos to check that. Okay, let's review something really quick that we haven't talked about in a while. Where did I put it? Up here. Okay, whenever you have absolute value inequalities, you have to consider the two examples. We have less than, where we have one set of solutions in between 2 points. Okay, then we could have greater than, where my solution set is actually everything besides the first one. Okay, so it's everything outside of that set. In other words, there's two different sets. Okay, so we have one set for less than and 2 sets for greater than. You have to keep that in mind. Even if you're using Desmos to get around this, you have to know this in order to get the questions correct. Speaking of which, let's go to inequalities. Okay, I'm going to do number 9 with you guys. This is greater than. So I already know that my answer is going to look like something like this. Either x is going to be less than some number, or x is going to be greater than some number. It's just figuring out what these 2 are. Okay, but we are already looking ahead at my answer. Okay, so my answer, I know it's going to look like this based on what we just talked about. Okay, if it's greater than, you have 2 sets. And this is the general form, what they look like. Okay, so to figure out these 2 numbers, all we have to do is consider 2 scenarios. Either x plus 5 is less than negative 10, or x plus 5 is greater than positive 10. Okay, once again, we're talking about negative a and a. In this case, a would be 10, so we have to consider the positive and the negative for the 10. In the first case, we can subtract 5 from both sides. We get x is less than, let's see, that'd be negative 15. These 5's canceled, and we have negative 10 minus 5. That would be negative 15. Or, so that's one of my answers. Or x plus 5 is greater than 10. If we subtract 5 from both sides, we could say that x is greater than 5, which these 5's cancel once again. And 10 minus 5 gives me 5. So we get our other solution set. So either x is less than negative 15 or x is greater than 5. And we could just do, let's see, I'll do negative 20, negative 10, 0, and then 10. Okay, so I'm counting by 5s here. So we have, let's see, negative 15, negative 5 right here, 5 right here, and so on. So if we plot these points, we have x is less than negative 15, so I'm going to put an open circle. And I'm going to shade everything that's less than that. So all the way to the left to negative infinity. For x is greater than 5, I'm going to put a open circle at 5 because it's not greater than or equal to. And I'm going to shade all the way to the right to positive infinity. The symbols actually tell you where to draw. Okay, less than goes to the left, greater than goes to the right. I don't know how that's going to show up on the camera. Okay, the other way you can do this is by typing it in just like this. We can see that, let's see, the left half of this, we could type in just like this with y equals. And then for the right half of the equation, we can type it in just like this with y equals. If we do this, we get negative 15 and 5. So based on the fact that I already know that my answer is going to look like this, I can just plug in these numbers. The lower value goes first. The bigger value goes next. Okay? It's up to you if you want to use Desmos. You have access to this during the test. Please use it. Okay, in-state tuition for an incoming freshman at UNT is listed as $11,090, but the actual tuition could differ from the average by as much as $925. Use the inequality below to determine the range of tuitions an Aggie freshman could actually pay. Okay, to do this, we have to recognize first, it's less than. Whenever you have a less than symbol, this tells you what your answer is going to look like. You're going to have some number less than or equal to x, less than or equal to another number. Okay, what these numbers are, we don't know yet. I'll put question marks instead. We don't know what these numbers are yet, but we can figure it out pretty easily just by using this format. We just take the stuff inside and we use that instead of x. So we put x minus 11,090 less than or equal to on both sides. On the left, we're going to put negative 925. On the right, we're going to put positive 925. Just like when you're doing with greater than, you still have to split it up into positives and negatives. If we solve for x, and remember, we have to do everything to all sides. Okay, so and we have 3 sides to this inequality. If we solve for x, we're just going to add 11,090 to that, so we just get x by itself. We'll put our less than or equal to symbols back. Okay, and we realize, okay, we have to do this to all 3 sides. So you have to add 11,090 over here, and you have to add 11,090 over here. If we do that, these cancel out. Then we have 925 plus 11,090. That's going to be 12,015, which I already see in a couple of my answer choices. And then over here, we have negative 925 plus 11,090, which would give us 10,165. We know that this is the correct answer, so we pick this one, and we're kind of done. You could just think about this logically, though. You could have just thought about it like this: 11,090 plus or minus 925. If you consider plus and minus, you literally get the 2 answers that we just got. Okay, so keep that in mind. You don't have to do the whole equation thing to figure this one out, but it is helpful. You could also solve it using Desmos, and I don't think I need to say anything more about this trick. You should know this trick by now. There's the answer. Moving on. Number 11. Let's see. Write the equation for the function graphed below. I'm going to skip that. Let's see. Let's do the vertex first. The vertex is right here. The vertex is at -3, comma -1. And that's going to tell me a lot of things. For example, now I know the axis of symmetry. It's x equals -3. These 2 values will always be the same. Okay, so we can just graph that right now. It looks like this. Okay, and that would be your axis of symmetry. Okay, the domain is all real numbers, and that's pretty much for all absolute value functions. It's going to be all real numbers because it goes left and right forever. The range does go to positive infinity on the y-axis, but the range does not go to negative infinity. It actually stops right here at -1, which, wow, what a coincidence. Look at that. It just works out. So it's going to be all of my y values above that number, so greater than or equal to -1. The intercepts, let's see, it intersects the x-axis in two places, so I'm going to need two coordinates. And it intersects the y-axis in another place, so we'll need a third coordinate. Let's see. The first x-intercept is -4, 0. Next one is -2, 0. And then we have the y-intercept, which I'm going to leave for y'all. You can do that on your own. The minimum on -4, 0, so that's in between -4 and 0 on the x-axis. So we're looking at this interval right here. The minimum would be the vertex. So the minimum is just going to be -1. That's the lowest value of y in that interval. The maximum value of y in this interval is going to be up there at the y-intercept, which is right here. The maximum value of y in this interval is 2. Moving on. If f of x is equal to absolute value of x, that's the parent function, how will the graph change for the following functions? Which quadrant is the vertex of the graph located in? Really quick, I'm going to draw up a sketch of what I usually draw for whenever I have to remember which quadrant is which. So I put x here, there's my y-axis. We have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Simple as that. Okay, and we just have to figure out what vertex that graph is located in. I will do the first one with you, the second one is for you. Let's see, so we have f of x, which has been transformed. First of all, inside the input, we have added 6. Okay, so inside of my input, I will add 6. The way to think about this is, it's 2 times the original function, which is the absolute value of something. The something we have to change to x plus 6. Okay, and then at the very end, you just subtract 7. Okay, so this is the way to think about it, not really in that messy jargon. This tells us a few things. If we consider the parent, the standard form of this equation, which looks like that. Okay, which tells us a few things. A is equal to 2. H is equal to, let's see, x minus h, and this is x plus 6. So this would have to be -6. You have to flip the sign for h. And then k is just equal to -7. It's just right there. Let's see. Given that the vertex has to be at h comma k, the vertex has to be at h comma k, that means it has to be at -6, -7, which is located somewhere over here. Which means that it's in quadrant 3. And let's see, how will the graph change for the following functions? So we can tell that it goes left, down, and also the multiplying by 2 does something as well. Whenever you multiply by a number bigger than 1, what this does is make it more narrow. So it's narrower. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is go to Desmos and look at this trick right here. If you type in the parent function, and if you type in whatever they want you to do, okay, so 2 times f of x plus 6 minus 7, it will graph the blue function for you. And you can actually tell exactly what happened. Okay, there's my vertex I was talking about. The vertex moves to the left 6 units and down 7 units. Okay, and it's more narrow. We can tell that this is a more narrow V shape than this one right here. Okay, so Desmos really can do it all. If you type it in, see what happens. Moving on, number 13, and if we call this part A and this part B, number 13 and number 12, part B, are for you to do on your own. Good luck. Let's see, number 14 is the last one I will do on this entire review. The rest of these problems are your problem, not mine. Okay, we start with the parent function. Okay, we want to reflect it, make it wider, and place the vertex in quadrant 2. Let's just remember really quick, because it's easy to forget this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're looking for something in quadrant 2. That's going to tell me something about my vertex. What we really need to do is figure out what we want A, H, and K to be in order for this to work out. Well, let's see. My vertex has to be in quadrant 2, so that means H has to be negative. So let's see. Let's pick a value for H. Let's say that H is -5. So I'll put it -5, so to the left. And then K, let's make it positive, so it'll be in quadrant 2. So let's make that, let's make it 10. Okay. So this will make my vertex be at -5, 10, which is exactly what we want. That'll put it in quadrant 2, so that part is taken care of. To reflect it, we need A to be a negative number. So we need something negative here. And we need to make it wider, which means our value of A, whether it's positive or negative, our value of A needs to be in between 0 and 1. So the way to think about this is, okay, 0.5, 0.2. Everything between 0 and 1 will make it wider. So I'm just going to pick 0.25, or in other words, 1/4. So I'll just put -1/4. My absolute value function would then be, if we follow the pattern, it should be f of x is equal to A times x minus h plus k. As long as we follow this pattern, we'll be fine. We have we have a -1/4 as A in front, my absolute value symbol. X minus h, okay, x minus a negative number is the same as adding a positive. So we'll just put x plus 5. Okay, you kind of switch the sign for h. And then we have to add 10 to move it up into quadrant 2. And there we have it. The last problem that I will do for you. If you have questions, please come see your teacher the morning of the test. We will try to help you out and make sure this review gets done, because I am offering bonus points for it. I hope you have a good day. I hope this was helpful, and stay cool.